What I want people to understand as they work with black males are what is out in front of them. What are the critical things and hurdles that they have to jump, especially between 0 and 25? What are the things that are coming down on these kids? And then what strengths can they draw upon to successfully master these hurdles? Like we were talking about mastery earlier. Now, what can they draw upon to develop the personal effectiveness they need to master these challenges and demands that will be coming straight at them when they come out of the cradle?
Our first panelist is Dr. Joe White. For the past 41 years, Dr. White has enjoyed a distinguished career in the field of psychology and mental health. One of his more profound publications is The Psychology of Blacks, an African American Perspective, which was published in 1990. He's currently Professor Emeritus of Psychology and Psychiatry at the University of California at Irvine. He received his doctorate in clinical psychology from Michigan State University in 1961. Another one is The Troubled Adolescent. And still another is The Black Man Emerging, Facing the Past, Seizing a Future in America. Without further ado, let me introduce and welcome Dr. Joe White.
Joyce asked me how to introduce me this morning, and I said, well, just tell him I'm a homeboy, you know what I mean? Now, she forgot that in that long bio. All right, and as I said last night, I'm the oldest one here, so y'all have to respect y'all elders, right? What I want to do today is talk about the psychological challenges facing black male youth. The psychological challenges facing black male youth from roughly the ages 8 to 25, 26. And I'm also going to try to talk about what are the strengths that these young men and boys need to internalize. What are the psychological strengths they need to internalize to successfully master the journey, So we're going to talk about the challenges that these young boys and men face, and then what are the strengths that they need. Strengths that are anchored in the African American experience. We have lots of strengths, baby. We done survived slave ships, whippings, beatings, being thrown down in dungeons, you know, this and that, jail. But we still here this morning saying, I am wonderful and so are you, right? So we must have some strengths. We must have some strengths. And I maintain, I'm not a specialist in what you all call DV, I'm just a raggedy-ass child psychologist. But I maintain that if a black young man is successfully mastering the challenges before him, and he has internalized a base of African American strengths, that will inoculate him against some of this violence. It will not 100% do it, but it will definitely be a great inoculation and reduce the challenges. Because if a young man feels he is on his way in life and he is drawing on his strength, he don't need to be beating up folks, all right? All right, now, what are the challenges black men face as they try to make that transition from boyhood into manhood? There are four major challenges, and I'm going to not go over all of them in detail because we don't have enough time, but let's identify what they are. They are the challenge of identity, the challenge of intimacy, the challenge of coping with the residual of racism in America, which you have heard so much about, and the challenge of finding a source of strength. So there are four challenges: identity, intimacy, coping with the residual of racism in America, and finding a source of strength. Four major challenges. Now let's walk through some of these. Identity. You say identity to a psychologist or to a counselor, and it means four things. Answering the question, who am I? Where am I going with my life? How am I going to get there? And what's important to me? Let me repeat. Who am I? Where am I going with my life? How am I going to get there? And what's important to me? Now, in Psychology 1A, we try to get cute and we talk about self-concept, values, strategies, goals, but that's what we mean, who am I? Now, to the best of my understanding, a young man dreams a dream. All young men have dreams. Dreams a dream of what he wants to be in this world. And while the dream contains occupation, it is bigger than occupation. The dream is, how can I be powerful in the world of other adults? How can I be strong in the world of other adults? How can I be respected in the world of other adults? And if you don't think respect is important to a black male, you go down here on Broad Street and walk toward North Philly, and the first brother you see that's 6'4", looks like a linebacker for the Philadelphia Eagles, you diss him. And for those who don't understand what dissing is, that's disrespect. You diss him and you'll get your ass whooped, then you'll come back here and you say, oh, Professor White, I knew what you was talking about now. I know now. Respect is important. So the brother wants respect out there, right? Very important. Now then, all young men in America dream dreams, not just black men. The problem in America is, in a country that has a history of stone rock-bottom racism, can you find a pathway into the dream? Some of you read Langston Hughes' poem in college, What Happens to a Dream Deferred? Does it dry up in the sun? You saw Lorraine Hornsberry's play, Raisin in the Sun. The black community is filled with broken dreams. You see brother standing on the corner. Brother had a dream once. Brother in prison had a dream once. Brother who's in jail for domestic violence had a dream once. But somewhere that dream got snuffed out. It died like a raisin in the sun. And what we want to do is empower black boys to achieve their dream. And we will get to that in a minute. The second challenge is intimacy. And I am not talking about no booty call. There's something more important than this booty business that these young people is running around here talking about. I'm talking about intimacy. Joyce knows what I'm talking about. From the cradle to the grave, the deepest of all human needs is the need to be connected. Every nurse in this room who's ever worked on a premature baby ward knows that these Europeans have the technology to keep the baby alive. They got all kind of technology up there with those incubators. But they tell that student nurse to take that baby up out of that incubator 4 times a day and do what to the baby? Hold the baby. Am I right or wrong? Because the baby needs the human nurturance. If the mother lives nearby, they ask the mom to come over there 2, 3 times a day. They take off the mom's blouse, put a battery pack on that young woman, not a battery pack, a kangaroo pack. A kangaroo pack, so that the baby can be next to the mother's heart, right? Because you need more than the technology for the human nurturance to start you on your way. I hate to be morbid, but for the elderly people are dying and that machine goes flat, the doctor calls you in the room, and what do they tell you to do? Hold a person. Reach out and touch them, because you're not supposed to leave this world alone. You're not supposed to come in it alone. You're not supposed to leave it alone, right? Right? And that human need for intimacy is satisfied in 4 relationships as a black male moves through the life cycle. The first is the extended family. And even though we got crack cocaine in the community, we still got the extended family. It will survive. Big Mama's still out there, Grandma, Dad-ma, you know what I mean? They still out there trying to, you know, deal and so forth. So you got your extended family. You got your male peers. You got special romantic relationships. And you've got mentors. Now, the missing element in the black community is the mentor. A young boy needs hands-on guidance to guide him from age 8 into adulthood. He needs hands-on male guidance. Now, I don't know whether the percentage of absent males is 70% fathers, 60%, Monahan 50%, but I do know that boys are growing up in the black community without hands-on male guidance from older black males. Older black males who are involved in family life, involved in the community, and involved in the work world. My mama was a beautiful woman. She's dead and gone many years. That woman loved me, but she could not teach me how to be a man. That's just the gospel truth. Now, I'm gonna tell you what happened to me. I was a stone mama's boy. I used to sit on the porch in the summertime with a white shirt on, white pants, and I knew how to iron because my mother worked, man. Those pants would be creased, you know, like a soldier's pants. White shoes, and I'd read my little books. And I was 8 years old when my peers started into Pop Warner football. Leo knows about this. Started in Pop Warner or Pee Wee. That's before Pop Warner. And I'd be sitting on the porch reading. The boys be going to the playground. They say, Joe, you ain't nothing but a mama's boy. Sissy, panty waist, when you gonna be a ball player? And I would run in the house, right? So finally, the peer pressure got to me. Hands-on guidance. And if we do not provide healthy mentors for them, they will find mentors where? In the streets. That's right. And you can see them at 8 and 9. Their pants start to hanging down. They start talking that stuff. They got their little walk on, you know. I said, oh, man, a little boy told me, I'm down with the hood. Are you down with the hood? You 9 years old. And I'm 69. You talking about you down, you know. Now, where did you get that from, son? Anyway, all right. So we got the intimacy. We got the identity, we've got the coping with racism, we've been talking about that for 2 days, and then finally the source of strength. That is the most important thing. Internalizing the African American core strengths, and there are 7. Please write for me. 7 African American psychological strengths that have carried us through these 400 years in this foreign land. And these 7 strengths are improvisation, resilience is number 2, resilience. Number 3 is connectedness to others. Number 4 is spirituality. Number 5 is emotional vitality. Number 6 is a gallows like hanging gallows, a gallows sense of humor, gallows humor. And number 7 is a healthy suspicion of white folks. Now, in your curriculums that you are teaching these young boys and guiding them through school and in scouts and in mentorship, Big Brothers, prevention programs, this is what you want them to internalize. Now, let's walk through them real quickly in the time I have available. Improvisation. If you live in a country which has a history of not giving you an equal range of choices, and you want an equal range of choices, then you got to improvise. You got to be imaginative, you got to be creative, you got to be innovative. You remember that old song by Gladys Knight and the Pips? I got to use my imagination to make the best of a bad situation and keep on keeping on. All right? My mama used to improvise. She would wait out at the market at 6 o'clock when that market closed. The man would give her 4 steak bones. And she would come home, put those steak bones in a pot. We had preserves up in the closet there. Get some preserves out there, dump little vegetables, potatoes in there, cut up a few wieners, and baby, we had stew for dinner. Not only to feed her 3 children, but to feed my cousin and everybody else who wandered into the house, because my mama was not going to let nobody leave her house hungry. Now, hungry is different from hungry. Hungry is when your 15-year-old daughter is laying up on the couch watching color TV, talking about, Mama, please go get me a Big Mac. That's hungry. Hungry is when you never had enough to eat during the Big Depression. That's hungry. Y'all know what hungry is. Resilience is the ability to recover from a setback. There is no way in this world, on God's green earth, a black male is going to go from 0 to 70 without having a setback. Failure is built in. Defeat is built in. The question is, can you get back up after a setback? Can you get back up after a setback and keep on keeping on? People talk about heal. People talk about closure. I've heard y'all use words like restoration. I say the goal is to heal and to become stronger in the broken places, to become stronger in the broken places. In the black community, psychological maturity cannot be achieved until you have paid your dues and become stronger in the broken places. You're never going to be the same after divorce. You're never going to be the same after violence. You're never going to be the same after death. The question is, can you incorporate that and grow stronger? Y'all been running around here putting the bad mouth on Marion Barry. Now, Marion Barry got caught up in a hotel room on national TV. He had a crack pipe in his mouth, and he was with a woman other than his wife on national TV. White folks said, oh, ain't that a shame? Ain't that terrible? He's up there smoking that crack with a woman other than his wife. We ought to put him away forever. Marion Barry fell down by the side of God. Remembered all them prayers his mother used to pray in a small church at Ida Betta, Mississippi, said, if a man fall by the side of God, he shall rise again. I have never seen the righteous forsaken, nor his seed beg bread. And got up off of it and became mayor again in D.C. And white people say, oh, how could you elect such a terrible man? This and that and that. I said, look here, a boy came back from defeat and he became stronger in the broken places. And if you develop a therapy that can help people become stronger in the broken places, you will become the greatest counselor of the 21st century. Stronger in the broken places, all right? Connectedness, we already talked about that. Spirituality. Black folks believe in soul power, S-O-U-L. S-O-U-L, soul power. That there is a life-affirming force that permeates the universe, that gives meaning and inspiration from all things. From the darkest days of slavery, we always believed that we would be delivered. We used to have a little old thing my grandmother told me about called a ring shout. They used to walk around in those little old churches in a concentric circle, counterclockwise, walk around, and they'd be hollering and screaming, and the drum would be beating, boom, 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 be walking, shouting, hollering, crying, and pretty soon those tears and pain would give way to shouts of joy. Deliverance. And just as Daniel was delivered from the lion's den and Jonah from the body of the whale, if you keep the faith, you will be delivered in this world. And the Lord is not going to give you no more than what you can bear. The Lord knows how much you can bear, and you will be tested in this life. Believe me, just as he tested Job, you'll be running around here talking about, oh, Jesus, oh, Jesus, oh, Jesus is going to test your ass. You will get tested. Now, the question again is, can you come back? Emotional vitality. You want to see black emotional vitality? You go to a dance club over here in North Philly tonight. Man, I don't care how many bills people owe, how much their boyfriend left them, how much they don't have no job. As soon as they hit that club, boy. Now, I don't know if they teach dance therapy at the University of Pennsylvania or at Penn State, And you know something? Black dances are copied all over the world. A dance will develop in North Philly tonight. It'll be in San Francisco next week and in Japan the following week. And God is my witness, because my youngest daughter, I've got 3 daughters, my youngest daughter is a geologist. She goes all over the world looking for oil up under the ocean and some discipline called micropaleontology. I don't even know what that is, but I know they be looking for oil. So a little old girl, she ain't but 5'1", she went over to Japan, on the Sea of Japan, looking for some oil. So she told me she was going to go to Tokyo and ride the subway. I said, well, sugar, you know, maybe you ought not to be riding no subway around there. You don't speak Japanese. She told me, I'm a woman of the 21st century. I said, well, go ahead on then, if that's what you want. Go ahead on. So the poor little old sister got lost over there in Tokyo. So sister heard some music coming out of a club, and it sounded like some San Francisco boogaloo music, you know what I mean? So she went on in the club, and here was these Japanese youngsters from Japan dancing like sisters and brothers from the Fillmore District in San Francisco or 7th Street over in West Oakland. What do you think about that? So the music had a common language, they all dancing together, and then they took her back to the ship. Ain't no big thing, right? And finally, you've got to develop a gallows sense of humor. You got to laugh and cry as you go through this world. Now, when you have cried your eyes out, and the worst tragedy you ever experienced, and all the tears are out, then there ain't nothing to do but stand back and laugh and say to hell with it and go on about your business. Now, Professor Langston Hughes, the poet, the great poet and writer, had a character named Jess Simple. Jesse B. Simple, better known as Simple. Now, Simple was a prototype brother from the 1930s and 40s who was frequently unemployed, many times underemployed. He pushed one of those carts through the garment district down there in New York City. We got brothers in New York City, one right there, pushing them carts down there through the garment district. And in the evening, Simple would philosophize. And so one day we catch Simple in the hospital, and he's recovering from pneumonia, and I want you to listen. Gallows humor, the ability to laugh and cry. Simple said to his friend, not only am I half dead right now from pneumonia, but everything else has happened to me in this life. I have been shot, I have been stabbed, I have been run over, I have been hit by a car, and I have been trumped by a horse. Why, brother, I have been robbed, I have been fooled, deceived, two-timed, double-crossed, dealt seconds, and mighty near blackmailed. But I'm still here, Daddy-O, I'm still here. And his friend who was visiting him said to him, why, Jeff Simple, you're a tough man. Tough nothing, said Jeff. Look here, bruh, I've been fired, I've been laid off, I've been given an indefinite vacation, I've also been Jim Crowed, I have been segregated, I have been barred out, I have been insulted, I have been eliminated, I have been called black, yellow, red, and I have been caught in the raid, I have been caught short with my rent, I have been caught holding the bag, and I have been caught with another man's wife. But I'm still here, Daddy-O, I'm still here. You have suffered, said his friend. Suffered, cried Jess Simple. Suffered nothing. Man, my mama should have named me Job instead of Jess Simple. Why, brother, I have been underfed, underpaid, undernourished, and everything but undertaken. Why, man, I have been bit by dogs, by cats, by mice, by pole parrots, fleas, chiggers, bed bugs, granddaddies, mosquitoes, and a gold-toothed woman. Great day in the morning, said his friend. Great day in the morning. Simple said, that ain't all, bro. That ain't all. Now, wait a minute. In this life, I have been abused, confused, misused, false arrested, tried, sentenced, paroled, black-jacketed, beat, third-degreed, and near about lynched. And his friend said to him, well, anyhow, your health has been good up to now. Good health, nothing, said Jess Simple. And he was waving his hands and kicking his feet. He said, well, man, looky here. I done had everything from a flat feet to a flat head. Why, man, I was born with the measles, and since that time I have had chicken pox, smallpox, whooping cough, croup, appendicitis, athlete's foot, tonsillitis, backaches, mumps, and a strain. But I'm still here, Daddy-O. I'm still here. Well, having survived all of that, said his friend, what are you afraid of now? Just Simple said, I am simply afraid that I will die before my time. The last thing is a healthy suspicion of white folks don't believe everything they say. Thank you. If you are too suspicious of American society, you border on paranoia, then you won't do anything. If you have no suspicion, then you open up yourself to a big disappointment in life. Healthy suspicion is having a little bit of skepticism when white folks tell you, look, we can spend $200 billion in Iraq, but everything is going to be cool. We're going to have enough money left for education, enough money left for inner city services, enough money left for health care, and everything is going to be fine. Well, somebody's not telling the truth. The trick is to keep a little bit of suspiciousness, but not to the point where you're so paranoid you won't do anything. But on the other hand, you have to have some reserve.
A significant number of the folks who are going to buy, purchase, watch this video are going to be actually white, which is a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
What would you tell them in terms of making sure they understand your comments? Because they're very objective and I think they're very realistic, but so that they don't take them out of context.
What I would say to them is that trust has to be earned. Trust is not a given. If you're working with African Americans, you want them to trust you and you want them to believe in you and accept you as a credible human being, then you have to be prepared to act in such a way that you deliver on what you say you're going to deliver on. So, for example, say you're going to put together a scholarship program to get black children into college and you're going to give them mentoring. Well, then that's what you need to do. And if you don't do it, then they're likely to be suspicious of you, and they're likely to be a little suspicious of you till they see that you are going to do what you said you were going to do. But that it's not against you personally, it's this legacy that's carried by the society.